welcome to staff, welcome to you too, and the gallery. Thank you all for coming to special meeting tonight for the purposes of having a look at the budget. Apologies, we have I believe we have somebody tell us is running late, is he, or we haven't been advised he's not coming?
Has not been advised.
Okay, alright, so hopefully it turns up soon. On reports we have two reports, 3.1 and 3.2. Before we start, I want the staff to address us regarding a couple of matters. So I'm going to seek leave of the meeting to suspend meeting procedures, but we want to know why. There's been a revaluation on a couple of properties, not that material, but combined with recognition of some concessions that have been granted last year that weren't factored into the budget, despite clearly required on the rate. And then today, the state government have announced an increase in the waste levy that's substantial. And it's not material in an accounting sense, but I think we should have some discussion on what to do about it. So if you're okay with that, we'll suspend meeting procedures until 6:30 should we require it. All those in favour? Against? So, Jenny, you want to kick off?
The rate, in terms of the rate, so if Linda can just call up the resolution for the rates in the dollar, which is our the one we've highlighted. So in terms of the rate, there's two situations present itself. The first one is actually a positive increment of rate, which is a commercial property. Since our latest valuation has become, it was rated commercial, but it's then rated vacant land. So that is the...
Then rated what, sorry?
Vacant land. So as a result, because our vacant land rate is much higher than the commercial vacant land is much higher than the commercial rate, so there's a little bit additional income there. However, the flip side is, the other issue is there's a change of status of a group of living, independent living units. They are like retirement, there's a group of them. The group is about 11 properties. So under the Act, Section 158(2)(b) of the Local Government Act, it says that this independent living unit is exempt from minimum rate. They do have a much lower valuation than our minimum rate. So currently our minimum rate is about $350,000. If your value is $350,000, 163, you're classified as minimum rate. So these 11 independent living units, they are much lower. So under the Act, they're exempt from being kept at a higher rate. So they will be rated at whatever the rate is based on their valuation. So as a result of that, there is a negative impact on rate. So with these two issues, it's about $10,000 in terms of a reduction in what we expected in rate. So as a result, what you have on the screen is a proposal to change the rate in the dollar from 31899 to 0.319164 and the 25% of the vacant rate. So that is the result of the change in the rate in the dollar. Our financial remains the same.
Okay.
So you're changing the rate for the residents because we didn't account for $10,000?
Because we're $10,000 short.
You don't agree with that one?
I have to agree with it.
Right. That's right. So what we're... Yeah.
The increased rate in dollar would cover that $10,000.
Or we could get rid of something that's...
You could.
Yeah.
The increase to the average residential would be 4 cents by making that change.
Yeah.
Instead of 90 something there.
So just to be clear, our options are not to remove the concession. They're entitled to it. They've written in, they've requested it in accordance with the Act. We are obliged to provide a concession to community housing operators. That's a whole different discussion. The staff have missed it. It's come through. They picked it up in time to modify this. We can reduce the expenditure by 10 grand, or we can change the revenue raising by this tweak. So the staff have opted for the latter because it's easy to do on the fly. Understanding that when we set these budgets, we generally don't like to change things. We generally like to say, staff, go and set it up, because if you look through the report, you see all sorts of numbers and clauses, and if you change something substantial, it makes a mess of the whole lot. Okay, so Alison, you're quite right. Unless you...
A subsidy of $10,000 that's kind of appeared with no quantifier, so that was, I don't know if you talk about that now or later. But
can you just hold that thought? Because we can cut something, but without us knowing what it is, that might be tricky to discuss. The second issue, hang on. Sorry, are there more questions about that item? Sorry, Mark.
Two questions. One, is this the only group in the City of Prospect that this is likely to apply to? Do we know if there are any other applicants? We've done the validation checks that we've done on the system yesterday have came up with this 11 and proved to us that the others are all correctly rated. Second question is, what does it do to the average rate? That's the increase of 4 cents. So we print it as a whole dollar, so there'll be no impact on our printing as far as the communications we make about the average residential rate.
Sorry, that last bit I didn't hear.
So the rate increase as a result of this change.
I think it was, what,
4 cents a
91?
year.
Yeah, on its own, this is
No.
a rounding error. Okay. Christine?
Yeah, so what we're doing, so the living units, that, you know, so they were classified in with residential to start with,
That's right.
right? And so that's why we're readjusting the residential one. Right.
Correct. So in the past, we actually have all these written in the dollar blank. We actually usually, in the past, we just have it all blank and we will set it on the night. But because the valuation has been quite steady and we just took the liberty to put down what it is, but the most recent valuation reflected those changes and therefore we are amending these two.
Okay, any more questions about that particular change? Right, I want to talk about the waste levy. The government has announced yesterday, published today in the paper, that it's going to go up from $62 to $76 per tonne, and from the 1st of September. So first thing is it's $14 per tonne. My briefing from the staff of an hour ago is that we have about 4,000 tonnes that it applies to, which is about $6,000. So first thing is, there's a bit of flow we didn't know about. Thanks for knowing. Incidentally, we normally have the state budget in May, so this was an unusual circumstance. They held the state budget over, if you can remember, to wait for the outcome of the federal election. They've given up waiting and announced a few things, and I expect the whole budget will be delivered in the next few days. Right? So this is annoying. $56,000 in accounting terms is not material, but for us it's significant. The other complication is it applies only on the 1st of September, which brings it down to about 42,000, I think. 46, sorry. 10 months. Yeah, so not for July and August, but for the other 10 months. Right? So I thought that was worth discussion on top of what we've got already. So, Alison, your thoughts about cutting 10 grand, quite right. Let's start with the $46,000 because it's more substantial. There are some options. One is that we simply adopt the budget as is before us and we find $46,000 worth of savings somewhere else. Another option is that we set the budget as is before us and we put $46,000 on.
Sorry, David, you said 46. Does that include this business about the house, the $10,000?
What's before you on the screen?
Error.
It's up to 10 grand.
Right.
Right? But if we want to do the 46, we'd have to change that again, and I don't think we should do it on the fly. I would suggest if we want to pick up the 46, we would not move anything tonight, but set up a special meeting for next week and let the staff go and recast it, because it gets too complicated.
Would that timing fit in with our first budget review in September?
As I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong, if we adopt the budget as it's before you on the screen and then go to the first budget review, the staff will say to us, there's $46,000 negative adjustment that'll go to your deficit or find a saving. So we can do that, and that's the second option. Third option is that we can change the rate of the dollar to collect more money to pay that bill. And the reason I say that is not because I like collecting more money, but the government's announcement today and the LGA's response made it really clear this will have an impact on ratepayers. And in a way, I think if the state's going to impose a tax on us, I think we should let ratepayers know that the state's imposed a tax on them. And put that with a little flyer that goes with the rates in. I think it should just help if we do. I'm not sure why we should say, let's find another cut and absorb that state government charge. So that's the third option. So I thought that was worthy of having a discussion about, and the 10 grand thing just sort of thought, well, let's just open it up. Okay. So I want a bit of feedback around that. For those of you who are new to council, we've had this discussion every few years when the state come out with a brilliant idea that whacking a levy on hard waste would stop it going to landfill. It's a tenuous argument, I think, because our recycling is pretty good. I don't think our community needs further encouragement. And if you did think they needed encouragement, how do you sheet this home to them so that they feel the penalty on the landfill bin? Just kind of what I think you should and let them know, you know what I mean? Otherwise, they just see council rates and they go, I'm put stuff in my landfill bin, it doesn't matter. So it's a really hard link to draw, but we could give it a go. And we haven't had this debate for 3 or 4 years because about that long ago, the state set up an increase and announced it for 3 or 4 years like they've done with this one. So we knew what the increase would be each year, and it just goes into the budget calculations. Chris?
Can it be done as a separate differential rate? And so that's what we explain.
I think we can have a waste charge company, but it's a different structure to what we do.
Yeah, whatever it is. Because that to me, then you would say, right, well, hello, this is what we in good faith said. Now, hello, we've got this, and this is because of the state government's you know.
I think if we were to put a waste charge on, it would be the whole waste dollar, not just the variation.
Yeah.
And some councils do define that on the rates notice. And so it's quite clear this is how much your waste disposal is.
Yes.
And we would need to investigate we do that. And if we were to do that, if there is a change in rating strategy, we will need to consult as a 21-day consultation.
Yeah.
So we could potentially do that for next year.
Oh,
Yeah, so it's not an easy answer.
yep. I'm just trying to, you know.
Right?
Yeah, just a couple of things. My perspective is we shouldn't change the budget tonight. I think for lots of good reasons we shouldn't do it. I understand this change, but while $46,000 is probably not material,
from a principle base, I think it is, and I don't think we should change it. Point one. Point two, and maybe this is a discussion for another time, but I think we should put on the public record that we disappointed with this. I think the timing is clearly straight after the federal election,
and I think this would have been attempted for some time. Some heads up to councils would have been useful, given that every council in the state has set their budget.
we're probably one of the last ones to pass it tonight, if it fails.
And I think it's outrageous that they would do that. The third point I was going to make was that I presume this is part of their budget announcement from Thursday. As I understand, the budget will be handed out Thursday night. That also means there's a process to go through in order for the budget to be approved, which is not yet approved. So I think by doing it tonight, we're preempting any passage of budget books in Parliament, which I presume will probably happen as it does every year, but I think it would be premature for us to make the change. I really like Christine's idea about identifying, not just for this increase, but for our hard waste
way, and almost an educative opportunity for people to know that you've got a choice of putting the cardboard box in the yellow bin or the red bin. You put the red bin to the cost more, and I think that's something we can explore. Obviously not for now, but maybe in future budgets. I think
We can certainly put a note to that effect, either on the invoice or with the invoice.
yeah, and if it's on the invoice near where the total amount of rates are, this includes this amount for this purpose. I think that's really useful.
Onka leading the pack with this stuff about information and invoicing.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure how strictly in accordance with the Act it is, but it hasn't been challenged. They're a fairly big bob. But
How much does it represent per household?
the $42,000,
This one?
10,000 rateable premises, so it's $4 rateable premise, roughly.
I don't understand why we have to absorb the bad news.
Bad news.
I agree.
It's their bad news. It's state bad news. All of a sudden, we're the ones that have to deliver it.
I agree. And I just repeat, I don't understand how you can use the levy to encourage people to divert from recycling to landfill unless they feel the pain somehow. So how do you do that? Don't do it by absorbing it and saying, we'll take care of it.
And it's passed on evenly to everyone who's probably doing the right thing as well.
Yes.
that seems a bit unfair as well. You've got all these people doing the right thing and they're still getting the levy, and it's like, well, why the hell am I doing the right thing?
Do we have to do it?
We have no choice but to pay it.
Just to pick up on Mark's point though, if most other councils have approved their budgets and we include the levy, we would be, our residents would be on a yearly payments rate increase this financial year. Is that right?
I don't know how many have passed the budgets. They've got until the 7th of August, I think. So, end of August. End of August.
Haven't seen many in the paper.
They've all got drafts and they're in the process of. They're probably like us, they're about to set it. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a whole heap of councils that today have gone, oh, that's not nice.
If I could suggest, I would suggest that there's probably, I'd say 50% of councils might have passed their budget.
Okay.
The comment in terms of whether the organisation absorbs it, essentially the government's cost shifting that additional into operations if you don't pass it on. So you are forcing the organisation to reduce services that you've already gone out and consulted on the community in order to absorb the state government cost.
In regards to the education, because that's a huge thing, is the state government putting any resources into education? So you'd think there'd be some sort of TV advert campaign or something to educate people about.
It's a question for them, not for us.
But, you know, they're giving us a tax, but what are they doing?
Yeah.
Zero Waste did have a budget for education and put ads in the messenger press and other places about how to recycle and what should go and what bin. They had a budget of $8 million. This administration, this government, has decided to cut their budget to $4 million without really resolving what gets cut. So LGA has said, please don't cut the education component. I haven't seen really clear guidance around what's been cut, and I think education will suffer because of that.
Because the whole pointy end of this argument is when are local councils going to get the benefit of the levy?
I understand, although it's not in the advertiser, my briefing from the LGA was that in association with this discussion, this announcement, the state announced $14 million would be made available this year as a grant program to improve waste collection facilities. It would be the first time in years there's been a major outlay. I haven't seen it in writing though, I didn't see it in the...
Is that 14 or 40?
14 million, that's what I heard. I've only been given a verbal, but yeah, that's been this...
That's the question. I mean, why is this levy being collected? It says for environmental, you know, improve the bottom line and carbon, you know, the bottom line. We're absorbing it all across the state, and yet the money's not being spent.
So I've just got the media release here in front of me. Responding to the EPA. $40 million grant program for councils. This is the LGA statement. $40 million grant program for councils will enhance our waste infrastructure and waste education programs to hopefully further reduce waste that goes to landfill. The fact remains that some $90 million remains in the hypothecated waste resources fund, around 1/3 paid by ratepayers. In the interest of transparency, the state should declare its intention for the remainder of the fund. So the good news is there is now a grant program. There hasn't been for years, for those of you who haven't been across this issue. Now there's $90 million sitting there doing nothing except offsetting some debt somewhere else. Any further comments around it, Alan?
Yeah, just to follow up Mark Standon's comments. Today I happen to be up around, not mentioning another area, particular Parafield and Parafield Gardens in the side streets, doing a little favour for someone and driving around. And I might have went, and it was their rubbish bin day, and I might have went past 200 to 300 red bins, and in amongst that 200 to 300 red bins would have been lucky to be 20 or 30, some parts were recycled and some were green. But it was just nothing. It was shocking actually, and I didn't think I'd see it so obvious, but it was just so obvious that people hadn't put it out. So unfortunately, that's why Mark said, why are some paying for others not doing anything? So that's been a life sort of thing that happens in that. And I'm sort of in the big picture think our people do reasonably well. But the government's put this levy there. That's in one breath, that's the end of it. It's just how we put it across, you know, how we put it to people. I don't believe we should make a decision tonight, go away, put it in, write it in, say why it's happening, and unfortunately it's there. And through the LGAs and things like that, because I just point to Greg, because I don't know if it came from Greg, but we got our envelope the other day, you know, to put on the fridge and down the bottom, because little kids take up all the rest of the fridge. So you put that on your fridge, but I don't know if these other areas are doing it, you know, especially when I saw a couple of hundred and there was nothing, you know, it was really disappointing. So I think we have to do it. I think we have to tell people why we're doing it. Perhaps even why the government's doing it should be their responsibility, but all in that one brief and cop it on the chin, because I'd hate, and I don't usually like, and I don't want to use the word hate, I apologise for that, but I don't like that we sit here at some stage, we do a budget, and within a week after budget or 2 weeks after budget, oh, we might need some money for this and this. It'd be, and I don't think I've ever seen it, but it'd be great to have that first 3 or 4 months of not chasing anything else. You know, we've made our mind up, we've cut, we've moved, and we've shifted on sort of stuff, you know.
So, thank you. Do people generally agree with that approach? That we not pass the budget tonight, that we ask the staff to recast it? From what you're saying, Alan, that we would add the revenue required and then tell people why rates are for that amount. Do people generally agree with that?
Well, we have to...
Let's talk about that. So first Matt and then Christine.
Yeah, I think that if it's unfortunately no option but to bear it, then we should take that approach. What do we do after you've won though? Because this says that it's an increase over 5 years or thereabouts, from $62 to $103 a tonne. So I guess centralising our efforts through the LGA or whoever it's best to do that through, does this mean that we're all agreeing to this over a 5-year period, or we're agreeing to it in the first year and we have an opportunity to fight it? Or
we do, but we've been spectacularly unsuccessful, and I'll go through the reasons in a second. So what's been announced? $62 now, up to $76 from this financial year starting 1st of September, 87 next year, 100 the year following that, and 103 the following year. This is what they did before. They just laid out the schedule and said, cop it. We argued vociferously about this and said, you're a bunch of, you know, no good whatever, and you're taking the money, not using it. So they had pretty thick skin and said, so what? And what's more, it's one of the lowest levies in the nation. And if you want to have a discussion around this, let's talk about New South Wales to start with. They're at $240 a tonne for waste to landfill. We're at 62, so we would like to start talking. Victoria is not as high, but up there. Western Australia is kind of around where we're at and tends to follow us in a way. So the only one that's different is Queensland, who have, I think, 0. So what happens is a lot of northern New South Wales council contractors drive their trucks 100 k's over the border. And you kind of think, what are the consequences of that? So what our minister doesn't want to happen is Victorian councils driving their waste across the border and dumping it in South Australia. We've provided ample evidence to suggest that that's nonsense. The amount of waste that's within an economic distance to drive a truck in Victoria is not, it doesn't make any sense. So anyway, the minister argues that the differential shouldn't be such that there's an incentive for interstate waste to come in South Australia. So that's another layer of complexity in the argument.
I think I understand all that. From an internal point of view and from a city prospect point of view, we don't really have any opportunity, I don't think, to take this as a challenge on behalf of our ratepayers and help them work out how they can actually contribute to reducing the overall hard waste that we're dumping. You know, there's no opportunity to benchmark what, you know, anyone individually is doing. You know, set it up as a challenge to people to actually reduce it from 4,000 tonnes a year down, you know, with the way that things are done now. Is there anything we can build in
to our negotiations for our contract, which I think are
I think there is.
something they're still ahead of us, so maybe we can push a little bit back that way as well.
Certainly we can talk with our contractors in terms of the contract itself. How can some efficiencies be identified for that? And that may or may not be successful, and we'll endeavour to have a look at that. The question I would pose is, if we've been good contract managers and have reduced the contract because we've negotiated with our provider, should that subsidise the state government fee? Or do you take that fund and say, I want to put that into other operating expenses or other services for my community because we've actually negotiated that to the benefit of our community?
Yeah.
If you just put it to the waste levy, essentially we do a lot of hard work and we just give it to the government. So that's my position. I would suggest to you that we would prefer, if we're good contract managers and we can negotiate that for our community, that provides some additional funding for increased services for our community that we manage.
Yeah, that's right. Just conscious that we're already at 6:30. We all love talking about rubbish. Could I seek leave of the meeting to extend the meeting, suspension of meeting procedures until 6:45? All those in favour? Against, it is carried. Do you have anything further?
Well, we've extended it now.
Really? Yeah, look, obviously it's an interesting topic, funnily enough, and I think we need to put aside some time at a workshop to look at. That's a great point that you've raised, Kate, and how we integrate a education process a little bit more effectively, how we could benchmark, how we could incentivise people, whatever else. I think it's a good thing to look at in context.
The funny thing about this is, it's not very funny, that the higher the levy, the harder councils work to educate their constituents to divert from landfill. So it does have an impact on our education kit, which Alan just said came out. Well, that cost us about 20 grand or whatever to get out there. If we didn't have a levy, why would we bother spending 20 grand? Food recycling bins costs our ratepayers money. It makes more sense just to chuck it in the landfill bin and get rid of it. But we do it because we want to. So if you break all this stuff down and work out what's the cheapest thing to do, as we probably should, it's scary how convenient it is to dig a big hole and just push all our rubbish into it as a society. So these are artificial impediments to try and persuade people to do other things. So we've got to work out if we're happy with that, how do we use that to educate our ratepayers, and how do they feel the benefit and the pain that we do that?
With that amount that we're getting taxed, is it $42,000, $46,000?
This year, 46, sorry.
So do the councils have to do that across all residents equally, or it can be differential? So for example, if it's tied to the size of the red bin you have, so if you increase it with a tiny bin movement, and they pay a lower amount, and people that just have the big old red ones have to pay a higher amount. So it would incentivise.
But you could half fill the big one and fully fill up.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If you go for a tiny little one part of the tiny red bin plan, then I don't have to pay the or whatever. So there's some reward.
Two issues. Setting the rates to raise the revenue gets applied as per the formulas up there. So it's a blunt instrument. So the whole residential...
We have to do it like that.
Well, to raise revenue we do. However, if we went down the path of, as Christina's proposed, having a separate waste charge, you could structure that such that it's different for different bits. Already we have a charge per bin if you want an extra bit. So we can do that, and I think that all should be discussed as part of our waste management process going forward. And it'll be really challenging, because it might be easier for us just to jump on what East Waste is doing. And if they don't have all those mechanisms, we'll lose that opportunity. If we want to make this the cutting edge of personal accountability for waste and put lifters on our trucks, we'll be the only one doing it in the state, and we'll pay for that.
So it's going to cost us. It's going to be costly no matter what we do. So if we charge each resident $4 extra per year, I think that's what was said.
Yeah, roughly. Yeah.
That's not a lot. But if we start playing around with other measures and stuff, it might just end up costing a lot more.
Yeah, that's the dilemma.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a discussion for the waste management contract.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to suggest for Kate, is that we look at how we leverage that within the contract and see what we do about that.
So Christine had a hand up, wait.
Yeah, just in terms of time frame now, because it looks like if we're reading the meeting that we're not going to pass anything tonight, and staff have got some indication, I guess, of where we'd like to go. And we have to have a meeting to pass it, and I guess allowing 5 days for notifying of the meeting. So on the 24th of July. So we have got a bit of time now.
Oh, it's a special meeting next week is what we propose.
Next week.
It's not a difficult tweak. It's just hard to do in an hour.
But we've got to consult, don't we, with the public?
No, sorry, hang on. To change what's in yellow to a slightly higher number to pick up the $46,000 doesn't take a lot, but needs to be recast through all the numbers. To change to a separate waste levy would be a consultation process. And my advice off the cuff would be not to do it now, because our waste management contract is going to be discussed, and I think it should flow from that.
And conversations like through LGA or whatever, what are our residents then going to be getting back for having this levy?
Yes, and that's right. And maybe we ask for an education program to be funded to get our hands on. Mostly, the $14 million, I think, would go to regional councils who have pretty ordinary collection facilities that are desperate to get some capital into them to make them work better. And they've been waiting for years for access to the fund. And if you go, we used to have one back in, probably when you first started council, and it still features in the budget to kind of, I don't know what you would sum out of there. Yeah, sorry, Mark, and then Mark.
Look, I have a slightly different view. I'm of the view that we should pass the budget tonight, or we should at least move and see if it gets passed. I guess going back to what I said earlier, this is very new information. It's last minute. We've worked very hard to get the budget in shape. This is
a levy which will be implemented on top of our budget. I think that the work we've done to get the budget to this point, we should actually do that and treat this as a very, very separate case. I agree with Councillor Harris. I hate coming back after we've done budgets for budget reviews. This is kind of extraordinary for me that this is probably one of those very few occasions I'll be happy to see that happen to pass a budget, knowing that there is potentially something coming up which is worth $46,000. My point is, this is part of the budget, which will be handed down on Thursday. It needs to go through the proper parliamentary processes to approve the budget. I presume LGA will be advocating very strongly on most councils' behalf, maybe not one, on
how this will look and impact for councils. So I presume it's a fait accompli. I'm presuming that the government can do this. That is maybe a question. But I just think it's a bit premature to change, to not approve something that we've worked very hard towards on the basis of that. I'm happy to be convinced, otherwise I'll go with the majority. But I just feel uncomfortable not approving the basis.
My comment is, where are we going to find the $46,667? So have you got any suggestions?
Councillor on my left might have. But look, and that's a really good point. And I suspect it's going to probably end up with a cut of services and a cut of projects plus an increased rate. I imagine that might be.
No, we can't increase the rates up. If we set the budget tonight, that's it for the year.
No, I know. But I'm saying if we don't, I presume that's the way to go. If it doesn't, if we do set it tonight, it will be a budget cut of a project.
Or an increase in the deficit.
Or deferment.
But my other question, if I just ask my other question, I'm sure Councillor Bowser wants to say. Ginny, in terms of the absolute cut-off date before we start losing cash flow, because I know we had this conversation, I think, one or two budgets ago, what's that date before we start losing cash flow and therefore interest and therefore?
What's the latest we can set the budget?
Yeah. Like how long have we got?
Okay. We are okay with cash flow at the moment. We have a projection of having $1 million in our cash reserve. So we are working on that working capital. If we were to set the budget, delay the budget next week, it wouldn't impact on it because the due date of the first quarter will still be on time, which is September. So that will not jeopardize any timing if we set it next week. If we defer it a lot later, then it will probably be deferred by whatever.
Yeah.
So at this point in time, it is still on track.
And if we run out of cash we'll just
We have a
borrow,
cash advance debenture.
but then we got the interest.
Correct. Correct.
Look, I just suspect that if we're going to defer it tonight, and as I said, I'm happy to go with the majority, but that's how democracies work, especially Queensland. I think that we actually have to have a really serious conversation about projects, and I think that's going to take a lot longer than a week's result. Well, I suspect it may take longer than a week's result.
So just try and catch, because I want to try and draw us to a conclusion here. So your view is that we shouldn't change the overall revenue, but we should find $47,000 of savings somewhere. What's your view with its impact on ratepayers? We say it's related, I guess.
And state government.
Well, I guess that's my point. I think we also need time to think about how we message that. Because the message is, at the moment, the message is we've got a very responsible budget that delivers services and a whole range of other things in a fiscally and financial way. The message after that, you're either going to be hit with a $46,000 bill, which is $4 per resident a year, or you're going to reduce the amount of services you get by $46,000.
Yep, okay, that's the same now. Alison, then Mark?
Look, again, I'd be happy to see it be formally moved. I'd like to move an amendment. I'm not keen on the street party anyway. I think we're spending too much anyway. I was a bit disappointed with the strategic plan not getting airtime last week. I think we really had a look at why we're doing the projects we're doing as well. Certainly this levy has come out of left field a little bit, but you know, it does impact on what we can afford. So yeah, I'm with Mark. I'd like to see it talked about tonight.
Cover procedural issues. If we want to cut projects, we can't set a budget until we decide what we're going to cut. So we can't come back in a week. We need to come back next workshop, push aside something else, which has been deemed to be important, have another hour and a half or two on the budget, agree a position again, which I think people have said we've worked very hard on agree a position, and then ask the staff to resettle the numbers, which they can't do on the night. There's a lot of work that goes with this. So just understand impact. I might come back to that if you thought through that a little bit. Mark?
Is there any way that we can actually put this as an annex to the budget? Can we separately charge this like a dog registration or something like that?
We can, but not under the current construct. We need to do that in terms of next year's.
Okay. The other thing too, I don't know which way it's going to go, but I believe that if we tweak those numbers, go back, tweak the numbers, absorb it into here, I think in the rate notice, even if it's absorbed, I think we need to bring it down as a recognised separate item. Your rate bill this year includes $4.47, which is a state government rubbish levy.
And I think it needs to
be identified that this is what you've got there is inclusive of someone else's charge.
Well, 76, I wouldn't talk about it before, I talk about the whole 76.
Yeah, or 70, yeah, whatever it is, and this equals $4.37 or whatever it's going to be.
I hear from people who haven't said anything yet. So, Monica?
Just a question to clarify my understanding. Is it 46,047, let's just say rounded up, is that we have to pay that, or is it a flat fee, or is it only if we have the waste to landfill?
It's per tonne on the actual tonnes, and my advice is 4,000 is what we've done this year.
The estimated tonne is 4,000.
Yeah.
And these are $14. So and it's for
but we only pay what goes to the.
Correct.
So it may be less, it may be more. We're not.
correct, but the average was not. Last year was reported as 4,000.
So if it's more, then we still have to do a budget variation anyway. Yeah.
We can't raise the revenue, so you're aware of that.
Yeah. I'll just let that click over in my head and I'll think about that.
Yes. Tell us you came in a little late, but not that late. You haven't picked it up.
No, yeah, well, so I don't think we should pass the budget tonight. I think we should go away and look at this, more so because we have crafted a budget around what we believe our community needs and what we want to deliver to them, and this is unencumbered with that bill. In coming to that position, I'd be very interested to see what other councils are doing, because I wouldn't want us to be the only council that passes this on to our residents. I wouldn't want our prospect residents to be disadvantaged because we're passing our budget now, and that the 50% of councils that have already passed their budgets they just have to absorb the cost. So there does need to be some consistency around it. I think to get on the point that Mark raised as well, it is quite extraordinary, and it is always a little bit hard to explain. So when someone on the street says, "Oh, so what that came out in the last 5 minutes that no one knew about, and it makes us all look a little bit silly. So, it is unfortunate that this has come before us. Now it has come before us. I do support the the notion around we do need to distinguish this levy on the rates bill somehow, understanding it can't be raised as a separate levy, but how can we show the resident what it is that they're paying for council services and this new levy that whole levy that's come before us. So I mean, I'd be supportive of not passing the budget tonight and recasting it, more so just because it is a state government cost, and I think it should be passed on as such, rather than us have to absorb it in our operating costs.
Okay, so seems like no one's comfortable to pass it tonight except perhaps Mark. And the next steps I just want to get a bit of clarity around. So Matt and then Christine.
I agree with Talis, although I don't think it's a difficult thing to explain. I think it's actually quite simple, straightforward to explain. I'd be loath to continue to chip away at the things that we've budgeted for this year based on what feels like several years worth of discussion compact into a few months. I imagine, if I said to the people who I speak to have cancelled the street party, or we've chipped away at it to the point where it's not a successful event because we wanted to save everyone $4 and not pass on the rate levy that the state government's enforced upon us, I feel incredibly stupid saying that to people. I wouldn't be comfortable moving it tonight. I think we need to go back to the drawing board.
Okay, Christine.
Well, somehow echoing some of it, I want it to be that we make it clear to our residents that this, in good faith, is what we came to pass, and this is what your, rate in the dollar would have been. Except now, at the last minute, the state government's put this levy on, which we have no option but to collect, and so this is now what it is.
Okay, thank you. So, who's in favour of passing the budget as it's before you tonight in yellow? Right.
Sorry, say that again.
Who's in favour of passing the budget as it is up here? The number in yellow. No coverage of the 47,000.
This is what we consulted on. That's what annoys me.
Well, no. This would mean that we have to find $47,000 of savings somewhere. So it wouldn't be what we consulted
If
on.
we passed it last week, we'd still be in the...
Yeah.
It's only the matter of...
We would have $47,000 hit on our deficit, or have to find $47,000 of savings.
But we don't have to pay the government until September.
We can't change the rate of the dollar once we set it.
I know, but I'm saying in terms of our money flow, so when do we get the government to pay it?
Cash flow wise,
We do pay every quarter, in our monthly bill. It's not a cash flow
issue on it. It's the fact that the total budget would need to be addressed to find that money through a budget review process. So over the course of the 10 months between September and June, then we would need to find that money through budget review.
we're not there yet. Seek leave of the means to extend the suspension, and then you can 7 o'clock should be next, otherwise the paper. Against it is carrots like a Mexican way.
Hungry, getting hungry.
Who, can I just, sorry Mark.
Sorry, can I just make one comment? My preference is to see the budget passed. However,
If we had an opportunity, I know that everyone's worried at this, but if we had an opportunity next week to look at the impact of the rates on the dollar, both on the dollar and also the average impact across the year for residents, as well as having one more look to this to say, is there an option for us to look at both of those mechanisms? We have 2 levers, we have income and we have expenditure. Can we look at both of those? And I wouldn't support the budget being passed, so I'm happy for that to go back. I just think what we're saying is we're going to, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how we market it, there's still $46,000 has to be paid.
Yeah.
And so, and with respect, I think that people won't understand the difference between a state levy and a council levy. They just see it as bloody government charging me more and stuff. And that's how a lot of people see it. And so I think we need to be careful about getting too quick in the messaging because they'll get lost. So I just think I'd be comfortable not passing it on the basis that we get another look at this, which I know people can tear their hair out, and I might get stoned out of building ladder. But that in conjunction with the rate change, I think we need to see both of them in order to make an informed decision. We might choose just to do the rate change,
or we might choose just to cut $46,000.
Of expenditure. But I don't think we can make a unilateral decision to do either until we actually have a conversation.
So we've had three decent goes at looking at the budget. Who thinks there's capacity to find some more savings?
Well, we might.
I don't know.
We might be able to defer something.
Well, I think if you remember the last workshop, I reckon it was pretty tense.
So I'm not in the mood to cut anymore. I think we've looked at it for months and months and months. What I might be tempted to do though is look at, you know how we looked at all those different rate changes, different rate, help me out here guys, modelling, the rate modellings. I'd be interested to look at those again and see how they affect it, because the community has to pay regardless. But we have to pass the cost on, or if it hits our deficit, they still pay. No matter what happens, it still pays. So I'd be interested to go back, have a look at the rate modelling that we looked at and see how that affects it. The other thing is that neither you or I are here next week, or Councillor Larwood, so that's a very hard conversation that we're going to have with Minimised. I think it's important that we're all there to have that discussion.
Pass it on.
Pass what on? What?
You're not going to be here next week? Well, I thought you...
We're at a conference next week. I don't know where you are.
May or may not be on holiday.
I'm quite frankly really embarrassed because I've tried really hard in my team as mayor to get the budget passed by the 30th of June. We've missed it once in my time, and we're going to really not be able to do it now. We don't have enough support to get this one through tonight because there's too many things that are uncomfortable. Sounds like people want to workshop the budget. Well, I'm going to take it to the straw pile in a second. And that means, I think Monica's quite right, there's three of us away here next Tuesday. You know, the rest of you comfortable that we're going to cop whatever you come up with? You could be brave enough to do that. We could trust you, I guess, but it's kind of not really appropriate. Better that we're all agreeing to the pain that has to happen. Which means if we do a workshop next week with some of us not here, the first chance we get to pass is a special meeting on the 19th. The 19th we've currently got scheduled for a special workshop regarding the Library Plus project. So there's a bit of work to do, and there's a risk that we won't get to the budget until that July council meeting, which will be a whole month behind where we normally do it. Now, legally we can do it. We've heard the cash flow implication. There might be an interest charge if we get revenues coming in a bit late. I don't know what that's worth. I think it's a bit hard to impose that on staff to give us a bit of a thumb in the air. What will that cost? As I say, I'm embarrassed not because of all those things aren't coming together nicely, and it's been done for us. So
I think we need to do the right thing though, and most probably have to leave it and have it on the 19th, because I'd hate us to be rushing into something, and I think it's serious enough for us to give it proper thought. I mean, this is one thing of the year that we do that affects everybody out there, basically.
David, just a couple.
Yeah, no.
Just a couple of suggestions. Is it possible that we could get the modelling within 24 hours of what this looks like in terms of rate impacts? If you have modelling supply, could we have that electronically within 24 hours? The 5 days, I don't think we're obliged to have a meeting on Tuesday night, is that right?
no, we're not. No.
I'm not sure when you're away. I'm not sure when
It's still Wednesday,
We're
Thursday.
Tuesday 6 p.m.
in back.
Thursday, 9 o'clock.
Oh, we could have this at 4:30 then.
Could we do something like
Dare I say this on a Friday night? Could we have a special meeting earlier? Because I think your point is a really valid one about time. Alternatively, because the other option is we actually pass the budget without 3 next week, which I don't think is
Well,
and the third option is could you
nobody be away.
at the workshop?
although very likely fly out at 6 o'clock. That's something we'll do it Monday.
We'd be in the airport to
I'm trying to think.
Yeah, no, I like to get creative thinking on the fly. I think a key question here is whether we think there's capacity for us to find a $47,000 saving. And if there is, I kind of wonder why we didn't find it before. That's what worries me. Right?
You shouldn't have put down those new pavers.
I like it.
I should have been at that meeting.
I would like councils to try and be a bit more constructive, but thank you anyway.
I'd remind everyone of that one.
But David, there could be something with the tweet plus a rate increase. I guess that's my point. I just don't want to go to one option without considering the other in terms of due diligence.
Are people comfortable that we should have a look at either, cutting something or
I'd be happy with
working out a combination? Can I just get an indication? Who's happy to try and workshop this one way or another? 1, 2, 3.
One way or another.
There's not real. There's not a huge amount of support overwhelmingly, but people will tolerate it. Can I go back again? Who's sort of more comfortable to say, look, let's just get on with this and find $47,000 worth of saving, or let it hit the deficit? I asked that question before, so pass it as in the yellow up here tonight.
But we're just deferring what we just have to do.
That's right. Yeah. So that didn't get much support.
It's a defendable rate increase, isn't it? I mean, it's a rate increase.
Can I ask another? Third option is that we ask the staff to go away and prepare a revised number in yellow to pick up the extra $47,000 that we need and come back to us with a revised budget that simply collects extra revenue. And that could be done in a special meeting on the 19th or earlier if we can get people to a special
A
meeting.
Thursday night, Powers playing.
Yeah, can't have it then.
No, but we could schedule a special meeting based on your availability and get that in. Explain that we'll do our best to explain to the public, but collect the revenue, not touch the budget.
Collect the revenue.
Collect the revenue. And then if we can find savings later on and spend it on other things, well, that's something we can do during the year. I've never seen that really happen. You guys got away. Right. So how many people are comfortable to do that? To say, come back to us with revised numbers and let's get on with it at a higher rate. Great, that's hard to get. Beautiful.
Slowly getting there in the
We're
meanwhile.
getting nowhere, quite frankly.
Can I suggest that maybe something, can it come to council with an option A and B, so then it comes to council and then we're voting on the option?
At a special meeting.
Then we'll have a 50-50 again.
Yeah.
It's
Your choice.
It's pretty messy. And then you've only got two blunt instruments. You either do it as per this or you do it as the extra revenue. You've got 100 in between. So then which one do you move? So it's a race to say, I'm going to move that one up. Then you've got to vote it down in order to get the other one up. So it's pretty. You can, but
6 of one, half of the other.
If it's a levy, it should be passed on.
without having a debate tonight,
Well, we have to do it.
I agree with that. The most support we got out of that, which wasn't overwhelming, was to take it to a workshop. Now, I'm going to suggest that that's what we do. Give the staff time to prepare all the revised numbers so we can have a look at it. And if you've got any suggestions about where to cut things, then bring them along.
Could we also have some commentary around what the other councils are doing?
To the extent that we can find out.
Yeah, we'll find that out.
The ones that are already locked in would be pretty unhappy. And we can see where it can go. So unless someone's going to violently object, I suggest that that's where we leave it tonight. We don't need to move this tonight at all. It just simply not happen. Okay? Before I pull this back into formal proceedings, has anybody going to violently, I'm going to ask step up the end, going to violently object to that strategy? No, good. Thank you. Anyone want to move that? No? Great. Meeting closed.